68 afternoon, fellas. It's the Field of 68 Afternoons. We are live here at Little Woodrow's in Edo in downtown Houston. Thanks to John Fanta. Thanks for Jeff Goodman holding things down over at NRG Stadium. We're presented by our partners over at Bet Rivers, and we are presented by Hornitas Tequila and Jim Beam. Your greatest stories come from taking a shot, and Hornitas Tequila was made for shot takers. The all-night, early morning, burn the candle at both end move makers. T.O., you deserve a spirit that can keep up. 100% pure agave, no chasers necessary. Fellas, we hustle hard with Hornitos. I'm Rob Dauster. I got Terrence Oglesby here. I got Matt McCall
We found
here.
somebody.
We got Lavelle Jordan who just showed up.
Found somebody
out of nowhere.
We think he actually just wanted a beverage, and then he looked and he's like, "Oh no, I can't."
No, I can't. Yeah,
Come on now.
I can't do that.
He came in off the bench.
All right, Lavelle, what's going on, man?
Quick sub
We haven't
in.
seen you yet.
I just wanted to see everybody in person. Like all the
right,
virtual,
yeah, exactly right.
all the virtual conversations have been great. I wanted to come check you guys out.
Now that you saw everybody in person, what was the biggest surprise?
The biggest surprise is how good you and T.O. looking in your button down and
Crazy,
sport coat.
right?
I mean, they look good, right?
You got to bring the heat.
They look good, and then Dagan no hat. I think it's the first time I've ever seen Dagan
a good point.
without a hat. He always has a hat on.
That's true.
I do
Always
wear
has a
hat all
hat.
the time, so that's true.
All right, fellas, I want to ask you guys this. Here's what we're going to start off with. Randolph yesterday basically guaranteed a Miami win over UConn in the semifinals of the Final Four. We're going to roll down the list here. We got a panel of guys that know what they're talking about. Lavelle, I'm starting with you. Do you agree?
I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee that. I've been hitting you about Connecticut all year, and they had the dip.
Hey,
but
for the record, he is the only guy that will entertain me when I go nuts about Connecticut. He's the only guy that'll listen to it. He actually texts back.
I'll let you vent.
I don't know why you do it.
I'll let you
must
vent.
be like, this guy's
But
too much.
I think the evolution of Connecticut is just hard to pick against. They've had both sides of the ball for the most part all year, and now that they've figured out what to do when people sag off of Andre Jackson. But what's interesting is they've struggled guarding really good perimeter players. And Miami has a number of really good perimeter players with Pack and with Wong and with Miller. And all those guys are like – so they've had their issues there. But, I just don't – right now they just got so much confidence, so much momentum. I struggle to pick against Connecticut. I think they're going to get it done.
McCall?
Listen, as much as living in South Florida, I want to see an all-South Florida national championship game with Miami versus FAU. Only saying that because I live down there, and it'd be great buzz.
That's the only reason why.
It's be great buzz. But, no, I just think, and I thought Coach Hurley's interview the other night with Fanta, when he talked about the stretch they went on where they weren't playing good, and they got away from their identity. And he even said in there, that's when I was going nuts, and I was yelling at officials and getting in fights with refs. But when he said we got away from our identity, they know what doesn't work. And now he got their attention on that. And I think that's why they've been boat racing teams in this NCAA tournament. They've stuck to it. They've stuck to their identity. Do I think they're going to blow out Miami? No, I don't think they're going to blow out Miami. I think it's going to be a heck of a basketball game. I'm not picking against UConn.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to pick against UConn, too. Over the past 5 or 6 years, is there a team that's played better at this point of the season? I would venture to say maybe Baylor when they went on their run with Scott Drew and Jared Butler and Mitchell and those guys. I would say they're 1A and 1B as far as how well they're playing. But to go along with what you said, Lavelle, they have struggled with guards on occasion. Good guards that can create some things. That's where UConn struggled. But I think not only getting back to their identity, like you said, Matt, I think it also comes down to they were able to figure out that monster man defense on Andre Jackson. They were able to use that.
Rob after they lost to Xavier, but the second half of that game, you remember this? I just said that's going to help them in the postseason because the second half of the Xavier game, they moved Andre Jackson to the 4 and had his role so he could screen, he could hand off, he could create for the shooters. And then they went 1-3-1 to get back in the games because they were struggling to contain Xavier man-to-man. They haven't had to whip the 1-3-1 out in the tournament because they've been dominant.
Yep.
But they're still there. So they had some solutions when they struggle. And I thought, man, when they need that down the stretch, they'll have it. And it worked. They didn't win the game, but I thought it was great for their long-term, success.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, too. Like, you get to this point in time of the season, and Coach Donovan used to say this all the time. you're not changing your offense, right? You're not changing what you're running. But coming out of an under 4 timeout and changing your defense just to give the opposing team a different look, that can help you advance. It really can, because all of a sudden now it's a 1-2 possession game. You can steal possessions by doing that, especially at those after timeouts. All of a sudden, if I'm coming out of a timeout and UConn, if I'm Miami, and all of a sudden I see this 1-3-1, not that they're not going to be prepared for it. They're going to be prepared for it. But the willingness to do that, that's how you advance. And they haven't had to go to it, but they got it, like you said. They got it.
It's in the package.
Yeah, if nothing else, just to change the rhythm up of the game, too. Like if Miami starts popping the ball around.
With these guards, I'm thinking in my mind, okay, Wong could go crazy. Nigel Pack can go 7 for 10 from 3.
Right.
We could really struggle. They're small. They're going to spread us out. They got Sanogo running all over the place.
Yep.
Just stick him in the middle of the zone if you have to, where he doesn't have to move, and he can just protect the paint. And now you can find the shooters and just mark them up, and you're not chasing. It's there. Yep. Will they have to pull it out? I don't know.
They use it against Marquette, too. They went 2-3.
Again, Marquette keeps you on the run.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing those teams that kind of get you on the run, and you just need to keep people in front of you and know where they are, they've got something for that.
I thought the big thing, too, was offensively Caravan playing more 3 and then Jackson at the 4, like you alluded to. And then whenever they do that, and I used this line last week when we were in Las Vegas, but he turned them backing up into the paint from a stop sign into a runway.
Yeah.
Because now, it's really hard to guard guys if they're backing up and then they come at you with full speed. Andre Jackson started to do that. They've also done some things where Sanogo's putting it on the deck, fellas. That's 6'9", 200. So he's putting it on the deck. And then you put Jackson down in the dunker, and he's forcing help, and people don't want to come off those shooters. I think a lot of it, to go along with losing their identity, figuring out how to make Jackson effective when teams are specializing their defense against what he does. I think that is big time, too.
All that being said, we've seen Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
We've seen Peyton Seaver, Russ Smith. Our coach, Trey Burke, I saw it up close and personal. When you have guards that can just dominate a game, which
Shabazz Napier, Boatwright, and Napier.
I understand why Randolph would say what he said, because Miami's got a couple dudes that can just dominate the game at a spot where you can't. If you're bringing the ball up the court, you can't deny a guy that already has the ball.
Well, they got 3 guys.
And they got 3 of them.
Let me ask you guys this: when it comes to those guards, how are you? If you're UConn, and you look at what this team has, you look at Isaiah Wong and Nigel Pack and Wooga Poplar and Jordan Miller, and they also got Norchad in there. What's the first thing you're trying to stop? How do you go about game planning to slow them down when you know at the end of the day it's probably just going to be you got to stop them one-on-one? What do you do first, Theo?
You're guarding the ball. I think it's really going to come down to nut cutting time. Guard the freaking ball.
Nut cutting time.
And here's the thing too: Miami's beat teams in different ways this year. We've seen them play when they beat the brakes off of Duke and Coral Gables. The ball was swinging from side to side, and they were able to do it that way. Whenever they have to win games at the end of regulation, they have multiple dudes that can create. How do you stop them? One, I think Omier is a giant key to this game. He controlled the boards in their last game. I mean, what do you have? 8 defensive, 7 offensive. This guy, he gives them extra opportunities. He ended up with 12 or 14 rebounds in the Elite 8 game. But the problem is, it wasn't just the fact that he had 12 rebounds. It was the other 7 or 8 that he tipped out for offensive rebound opportunities. It was those things. If you control Omier, I think it cuts those second chance opportunities off for some difficult shots. At Miami, they take difficult shots. Don't give them 2 difficult shots, because they'll hit one of them.
They're going to make them.
Yes, they're going to make them.
They take and make
at least if
shots.
not on the first time, then on the second time. And if you take them away off the offensive glass, it makes it substantially more difficult.
I think UConn's just got to come out and be physical. They've got to be physical. Isaiah Wong has to feel that physicality. We're going to get a test early in the game. How is this game going to be officiated? Right? There's no consistency with officiating ever in the NCAA tournament. I'm not knocking the officials. Listen, the officials now, they love me. They all come up and they hug me. They think I'm the greatest guy in the world now because I'm not over there stomping my feet yelling at them. But how's this game going to be reffed?
Is that what you were you a foot stomper?
Yeah. Oh, I was a big foot stomper. Yeah, argue every call. That didn't really bode well for me. Now they see me over there doing television. They want to come over and give me a hug. But I just think, how's the game going to be officiated? Because if they're going to let them play, then UConn's got to come out and be very, very physical, especially with Wong early in the game.
That's right.
And here's the challenge is, because my first initial thought was saying, get him off the three-point line. Connecticut's been great at that all season long, defending the 3. However, they only made 2 threes last game against Texas. They shot 32 free throws, to your point.
Yep.
So what makes them hard is you can get them off the line, but they can find a matchup and exploit you, and now you're in recovery, and now they're at the free throw line, and they're a really good free throw shooting team. So I think guarding them without fouling probably becomes the most important thing. I think UConn has enough length
How do you match
to
up,
contest the
though?
threes. That's going to be a challenge.
That's the hard part.
Because we all know, like,
Long's great. Nigel Pack can go nuts.
Jordan
and then
Miller
Jordan Miller
was-
goes
and
9 for 9.
Coach L is great at he's going to
Yeah,
find
he's good at
Waldo,
that.
right? Like,
Yep.
where's Waldo? And so they're going to be in search of
Where's
the,
Waldo?
the weak
Which guy you
defender.
want?
You remember the game,
I
right?
know, yeah. I know.
Are you still attacking Caravan?
So
We talked about that
Caravan was
earlier
the
in the
guy
year.
early. He's gotten better.
Yeah, he
He's
has.
gotten a
Way
lot better. And I think playing Naeem Aline has helped their perimeter defense a ton because Calcaterra sat in the middle when they struggled. They played Aline more, and they got back to that identity. But with Jordan Miller, I mean, he's 6'6". He's like Andre Jackson can only guard one of
George
them.
Mason plenty.
He can only guard one of
Saw
them. And Naeem Aline can only guard one of the other ones. There's still a third dude with a Long or Miller or Pack. You know, who's going to guard the other? And Klingon and Sonogo being at the rim, because I think they can funnel them and just challenge at the rim, and those guys can not foul. Easier said than done, but I think that's kind of the formula for them. And if you struggle, like I said, shoot, go 1-3-1. You know where
Throw
they're
it
at.
out there.
Just throw it out there.
Throw it out there. Throw it out there.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. Today's episode is presented by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball's pick'em, where you get real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's games. In pick'em, all you do is pick whether a player will go higher or lower in Underdog's projected totals. That's points, rebounds, whatever. If you're like me and you think Marquise Noel is going to go absolutely nuts this weekend, pick higher on his points projection, throw in a couple of other picks, and if you hit them all, you can win 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured it out. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, FIELD, to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Get in on the madness now.